Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Scotland and we're going to return to a brewery who I find very interesting actually. So for this one we are going to go through to Glasgow once again and we're having a look at another beer from West Brewery. So this one is the Isar Zen or 1810, Isar 1810, whatever you want to call it, and this one is a Märzen coming in at 5.3% ABV. So this will be my third review from West Brewery, and this is another beer that, from what I can gather, is an exclusive brew for Aldi. The other beers that I've reviewed for you from these guys before were the Dunkel, which again was exclusive to Aldi, and I've also reviewed the St Mungo Pilsner Lager beer for you before, which is their flagship beer. But like I said, this is a brewery that specialise in German style beers, and I'm a huge fan of my traditional German beers. My whole love of beer began with the Bamberger Rauch beers, of course, which is quite a strange way to get into beer, as a lot of people have told me. But really curious to see how this one turns out, and if memory is serving me correctly, I think this is the first Scottish brewed Märzen that I have had actually, and it's a style that you don't come across all that often, to be honest, as well. So really curious to see how this one turns out, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Always cool to return to West as well. I need to get back to the brewery and pick up some bottles of their other kind of regular beers, because I wasn't able to do it when I did my out and about video because I was going to the football, of course. And make sure you check out that video as well, my visit to West on the Green, which was really quite nice. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Always cool to return to this brewery. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. There's all the usual links in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from West Brewery. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. So West Brewery, or West Brewing, were founded back in 2006, and they kind of struggled initially when they started up, but then the company was bought by Petra Wetzel in 2008, and she's done a hell of a lot of work to build it up since then. I was told by one of the subscribers on the channel that apparently the previous owner was her former partner, and then she took over the company after the relationship broke down. I can't remember who was telling me that, but whoever it was, thank you for that information, because it's very difficult to find information on the company before Petra Wetzel took the helm. But they opened their beer hall, which is called West on the Green, and they brewed their beers in a small brewery just adjacent to that initially. But in 2016 they invested £5 million in the new brewery, and today this brewery can be found in the old Templeton building next to Glasgow Green, and this facility has increased their brewing capacity to around 25,000 hectolitres of beer per year. All of the beers that they produce are brewed in accordance with the German Reinheitsgebot, the German purity law if you like, and as of January 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, or February 2020, my apologies, they've produced 30 different types of beers, mainly of German styles, and at the moment they're also going through a phase of transferring the ownership from Petra Wetzel to the employees. It's basically an employee share scheme that they're running at the moment, and Petra Wetzel, she will remain active in the company of course, but you know, her ownership will gradually transfer over to these guys over the next 10 years or something, I think it was, which is pretty cool. So West Brewery I think will be around for quite some time actually. I think the employee kind of shareholding schemes are always a very good idea in that regard. But a really interesting company, this one. It's cool to see German style beers being brewed over here in Scotland, and you know, in my experience so far they are pretty damn authentic, so definitely worth checking out if, like me, you are a fan of German style beers. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about West Brewery for the moment. A really interesting little brewery, and it's definitely worth going to visit their the West on the Green. It's a really nice kind of German style restaurant, and they do pizzas and things as well, which is great. They've got a good selection of their beers, and you can buy them in the bottles and take them away and stuff like this too. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the history section. If you want to learn more about this brewery, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to get information on the different beers that they do, because I think the brewery only has their regular beers. They don't really post about the ones that are brewed for Aldi and things like that. So yeah, pretty cool, this brewery. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. There you can see, you know, the artwork of this one is a little bit different to some of the other beers that they have. You can see there is the West Brewery symbol on the top of the bottle there, and that is also on the bottle cap as well. I think this bottle cap is different from the other ones that I've had from West Brewery so far, so I'll need to keep a hold of that. But yeah, let's get this guy out then, and we'll get on with the tasting. Like I said to you, this one is a Märzen, coming in at 5.3%. So it says here, this beer is named after Munich's most famous river and its festival year. Our Oktoberfest Märzen rather balances malt sweetness and hot bitterness with a copper beer with toast and biscuit flavours. Prost. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Märzen beer, usually these were brewed between September and April, and the idea was that they had, you know, they were a bit stronger, so they had a bit of a longer kind of shelf life, but quite often they were put in the cellar, and then the bottles that were left were kind of sold or drunk, if you like, at the Oktoberfest celebrations. So yeah, pretty cool, I have to say. But the Märzen, as I say, it's a style, it's normally served at Oktoberfest, the Oktoberfest Märzens, but some breweries brew them year round and things like that. So I'm not sure if this beer was brewed back for October. It might have been sitting in the Aldi shop for a little while, but like I say, the Märzens do tend to last a little bit longer. Normally you want to drink these German beers within 3 months of their bottling date, of course. But yeah, interesting style, the Märzen. I do need to try a few more of these. But yeah, as you can see, this one's poured a really kind of rich golden amber, actually. You know, this is almost similar in colour to an IPA or something like that. I don't remember I remember the German ones being a little bit more kind of golden than this. But that said, I've only tried a very small number of the German ones, and there's quite a diversity of colour between some of these beers, but a lovely kind of rich, almost blood orangey amber when you shine the light through it. You can see there's about a quarter finger of a frothy, I would say kind of slightly off-white head to this one. It's not perfect white, kind of creamy colour. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it does look pretty nice, and definitely not out with the realms of possibility for a Märzen style beer. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma of this one, pardon me, and see how we get on. Oh yeah, straight away with this, you can really smell those lovely kind of Munich malts in it. I'm pretty sure that it will be Munich malt that's in this. You've got that lovely smooth white German bready quality in there. On top of that, you can really get a bit of the kind of sweet, there's a little bit of a kind of sweet caramel, but to me it comes across as mainly biscuity. German malt, in my experience, really isn't, it's the smoothness that always strikes you with it. And the thing I've found with the West beer, you know, they've got that typical German smoothness, or the Brauhaus smoothness, as I always like to call it. The Germans probably laugh at that watch the channel right enough, but the thing I found with the West beers is they have all the flavours you expect, but the Scottish water just gives them this really clean feel, and it's quite nice, I have to say. But yeah, some lovely toasted biscuit, you know, it's a little bit of toasted grain in there as well. A wee touch of a sweet caramel, smooth white bready kind of note in there. Maybe a little bit of bread crust as well, to be honest. Don't know, maybe you could also see a few slightly woody undertones to this, but those are very, very minimal. But yeah, it's interesting, the aroma of this. The Märzen, of course, is more about the kind of malty side of the beer. You get the typical kind of hoppy notes out of this, little bit of that kind of smooth earthiness, a little touch of floral quality, and the fairly bright grassiness, you know, the typical elements of the Hallertau or the Tettnanger hops, and it's probably one of the two that's in there. I would guess that with this brewery, I mean, maybe, I wonder if they've brewed this and then let it sit a bit before it's gone into Aldi. I'm assuming that this beer would have gone into Aldi on like the 1st of October or something like that. So they probably have brewed it in the spring, and then they've probably brewed it around, you know, January, February before, aged it and then put it in. So yeah, the hops, most of the hoppy character I would think would have dropped out of this, and the focus will be on the malty side of things. But you do get a little bit of that grassiness and the typical German noble earthiness out of this beer too. On the fruity side of things, there's not too much to report there. I mean, there's a little bit of a kind of peary sort of ester, maybe very slightly appley. There might even be a few hints of, you know, a little bit of a kind of, there's maybe a few hints of like some very slightly candied red fruit esters or something like that, but that's very, very minimal. To me, it's mainly a kind of peary, appley sort of ester that you're getting out of this one. You're not getting that kind of brighter, grassy ester that you might get from a fresher Helles or something like that. But yeah, really interesting aroma to this one. So let's have a taste of this beer then and see how we get on. This one is the Isar 1810 or Isar 1810, if I'm remembering the German numbers correctly, from West Brewery through in Glasgow here in Scotland. Let's get stuck in. A 5.3% Märzen. Skål, Slange, Prost. That's really nice actually. I mean, again, it's a really solid effort at the German style. That, you know, as I was saying earlier, the thing that I find with these West beers is they've got all the flavours that you expect and they come out in the right ways. These beers, to me, they just feel a little bit cleaner maybe isn't the right word, but it's just they feel a little bit wetter. The Scottish water really has, the Scottish water to me always feels very, very clean and not quite as smooth as the continental water. So you will notice a little bit of a difference in the mouthfeel with these, but they have all the flavour that you would expect. But yeah, that's really nice actually. Wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. It's a bit of a shame actually that these beers that they're producing for Aldi are only around for a few weeks or whatever, because this one. But I mean, that said, they might bring this back next year. I don't know if they will, if this is a seasonal beer that is only produced for Aldi, or if whether it's released in the bar as well. I'd be surprised if it's not available in the bar at Oktoberfest, come to think of it. But this one I really like. So yeah, in terms of the malt base then, let's try and break down the flavour of this one. So in the middle of your palate you can feel that nice smooth bready German malt base, that just blankets the middle of your palate. On top of that, if you go to the centre of the tongue, you'll start to get a little bit of a kind of caramel note there, and it's quite a toasted caramel actually, but as you move further out from that you start to get some kind of biscuity elements, and I'm noticing towards the back of the palate it starts to become a little bit more kind of bread crusty rather than simply being about the kind of smooth malts, if you like. That's quite an interesting point on this one. Yeah, I like the way the malt base goes together in this one, and like I said to you, when it comes to the Märzen, the focus is really on how that malt base comes out. And what I actually really want to do with some of these West beers is take a few of them out to my friend Daniel in Germany, who you've seen on the channel before, and let him try some of these. I think that would be a really kind of interesting review to make actually. I'd be curious to know what he thinks of these. But to me this is a really nice kind of solid Märzen actually. As I say, it has all the flavours you'd expect, it's just the mouthfeel I think is slightly different. But you find that when different countries try different types of beer, of course. The Japanese takes on the German beers tend to be really quite nice, but they feel a little bit different and a little bit crisper in some cases as well. But yeah, this is a solid take on the Märzen. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of that typical sort of German noble earthiness there, very smooth and quite light. As you move further forward from that, you can feel it progresses, it smooths out, and it gets a little bit floral on the front corners of the palate. Round the very front curve of the tongue, the beer's just a little bit lighter and grassy, and then behind the front curve of the palate, you can feel that little oily bubble where the juicy kind of fruity esters start to roll out of the beer. But this one doesn't have too much in the way of fruity character in my mind. So for me, behind the front of the palate there, it is quite a sort of peary, apple-y type ester, more of a peary ester than apple, to be honest with you. And you do get a few hints of a kind of slightly candied red fruity ester coming out of this beer as you go into the aftertaste as well. I mean, I would say this to you, this isn't one of the most complex beers that you're going to come across. And probably not even the most complex one that you'll find from West either. That'd probably go to the Heideweisse or the Fire Abend, something like that. But as these beers are not meant to be like that. They're meant to be nice and drinkable, and they've pulled that off very well. And they've also got the authenticity of the Märzen flavours. You know, a very drinkable beer, slightly stronger than your lagers and things like that, but also a little bit more kind of malty and sweet actually. I really like how this goes together. It's got the typical breadiness, and it's got a little bit of that kind of toasty malty character that you would expect of the Märzen style. So yeah, an interesting one this, and I like what they've done with it. So thumbs up once again to West Brewery. I really want to review the Munich Red for you, and also the Heideweisse. I think those are the two beers that I'd really like to get bottles of and review for you on the channel. And the Doppelbock, I know they do a Doppelbock every so often as well. I love my German Doppelbock, so that's one that I would also love to review as well. But in terms of the mouthfeel for this one then, you know, this is a fairly light-bodied beer. Carbonation again is very smooth on this one. The mouthfeel overall, it's got a little bit of an oily character to it, but I find this one to be quite wet, and you will notice that if you are into drinking your German traditional beers, you will find this beer a little bit wetter in its mouthfeel than ones that are actually brewed in Germany. But I think that's just the Scottish water, to be honest. In terms of hoppy bitterness and IBUs and things, this one's got a little bit of that, but I'd be surprised if you're over 20-25 IBUs with this beer. The malt base, like I said, is very, very smooth, mainly kind of bready, and then you've got the sweeter malts on top of that, and you've also got just a little bit of a fruity note to this one, but really not very prominent in that fruity side of things. So yeah, a really nice take on the Märzen, and definitely cool to try another one of these traditional German style beers from West Brewery. It's quite cool actually to have a brewery like this in Scotland. And we've also, if you're interested in Belgian beers, we've also got 6 Degrees North from up in Stonehaven. I think they brew in Lawrencekirk though, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's kind of cool to have these different styles of beer, these almost traditional type breweries brewing different countries' beer here in Scotland as well. So yeah, if you're into those kind of things, West for German beers, and then 6 Degrees North for your Belgian style beers. So yeah, another interesting beer from West Brewery, and like I say, I hope I can review the Munich Red and the what was the other one? The Munich Red, the Heideweisse, and potentially Doppelbock for you at some point. But if you want a nice Märzen, then have a little go at this guy, the Isar. A really nice take on the style, and I'm glad I was able to review this one for you. So let's leave it at that then. This one was the Isar 1810, or 1810, I guess you could say, a 5.3% Märzen from West Brewery through in Glasgow. A lovely take on the traditional German Märzen, the Oktoberfest beer. And I'm glad I was able to review this for you. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from West Brewery as well. As I said, I hope to return to this brewery at some point fairly soon and review more of their beers. But until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. The Isar 1810, 5.3% Märzen from West Brewery through in Glasgow. Slanger, Skål, Prost, cheers.